Just plug it in and then walk away. All right. So thanks once again to staff and everyone who helped out giving the tour. Thank you to those folks who came in on a Saturday from PLC and from our construction crew working on the Business Development Center. Really appreciate them coming in on a Saturday. And thanks to city staff for coming in on a Saturday. It's always nice to see everyone's faces. Great tour, everybody. Yeah. Any questions or anything else before we move on to 5.2 from staff or council? Okay, with that, we're moving on to 5.2 community conversations, initial discussion for elected officials, new public engagement strategy from the communication policy.
Yeah, so you had your earlier this week, the draft communication policy has this item called community conversations, which is meant to be more of sort of a grassroots, informal opportunity for elected officials to engage and interact with the community. And so wanted to we'll on our end, we'll need to be a little bit formal with our organization of that because we've got to make sure we don't hit public meetings. We don't violate public meetings rules. So 3 or less is great, 4 or more is bad. And so if we don't all want to be at the exact same place at the exact same time and having that. So the idea would be that 3 or less. For example, if we have coffee with a cop and 2 of you showed up for that, that'd be great. And then the idea would be that the next city council meeting under city manager's report, we can just have an item called community conversations, a recap. And then that would be whoever the elected official was or officials that attended would be able to give a brief summary recap of how those conversations went, what they heard, some ideas that they had, good, bad, and indifferent. And so so with that, wanted to kind of talk about right. Obviously we do coffee with a cop right now, but if there are other opportunities in which that you might be interested in that we begin and that we start, we're going to be starting to do Saturday market, farmer market stuff here beginning this summer at the new business center. And obviously there's events and activities, there's school sporting events, there's other things where we could set things up sort of in the corner, have a banner, whatever, let people know that we're there. But just wanted to just kick it off, just a round table kind of conversation about that. Or if you want staff to kind of come back and say, here's the opportunities, and then you guys can make self-assignments on when and where you'd like to go. The draft plan says to do this at least 3 times a year. In addition to the more formal open house that we're going to be doing in July. Yeah, so I just want to introduce that and leave it that way so that we can start getting ourselves organized and planned for those events for the rest of the year. And just a reminder, meeting is being recorded, which is why I'm speaking into microphone. I know that you can all hear me, but it's for the recording. So if you could, there's 4 or 5 microphones around. So if you have a comment, try to grab a microphone.
Yeah, so I think it's a great idea, great addition to enhancing, collecting thoughts from the community. I guess my ask would be if staff could create a list of where staff thinks the better opportunity. I mean, there are a ton of opportunities to interact, which would be the best of the opportunities, places we don't want to miss by, fishing the brave. I mean, if we'd made the mistake of talking about business, we'd have had a quorum problem accidentally because we all want to participate. So I don't know if we need to make something more formal so we don't get into trouble. It's like, look, we didn't have any issues with, we didn't talk business, but, if you just look at, 3 is great, 4 is a problem. And it's like, okay, there are places where we can accidentally get into trouble if we're not coordinating. So I think we do need some coordination effort on this.
I think that there's a spirit of the law and there's a letter of the law, and there's some clear boundaries of that. But in the same sense, if we all happen to be out with our families and we're all at the same restaurant, really,
yeah, I mean, you're all allowed to coexist in the
Yes.
same place, so long as you're not conducting any city business. So
Correct.
you can all go to the high school basketball game or football game or whatever, pick your event.
No.
That's totally allowed. That's totally fine. It's just when you cluster and you've got 4 of you having a city business conversation, now we've got a problem.
Correct. I just want to make sure that everybody understands what the policy is, on that, what the expectation is.
And I think what you're saying makes sense, but I think the spirit of what we're trying to do here, though, is to give it more of a structured format so that when we go to basketball game and I could still attend the basketball game, but if you three are there doing a sitting at a table and people say, "Hey, I want to talk to you guys about what's going on in the city," that's what we're talking about. It's a different system.
Well,
So
yeah, I think what the idea is that we actually have something set up in
Exactly.
place for the weekend, before we can, so we can have those conversations.
Precisely.
And that I think is wonderful. I just want to make sure that the council understands that, if we all happen to show up at a basketball game or whatever, let's just not have conversations about city business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's the
totally
whole
fine.
piece of it.
Yep, that's
Yeah, you can
exactly
do
it.
that all
Yeah,
day.
100%.
I just don't want us to get into the trap. Oh crap, they're here. I better leave. No,
Yeah.
it's not about that.
Let's say me and Kareem work together. Kareem, how many times we talk about city business outside of city stuff? Not once. Yeah, just not once.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, jump in.
I was just gonna say, identical to what you all are saying is there's there's the actual violation of law and then there's the appearance of, right? And I think what you all are really trying to say is we don't even want to appear like we're violating. And so that's the discussion because you won't be, as long as you're not deliberating, you're not discussing city business. You're fine.
Right.
so I heard, Bruce, you're talking about maybe we can provide you a list of, potential activities or events over the next, 9 months of the year, that staff might consider to be perhaps the better opportunities. And then you guys could review that and then either make self-assignments from there or agree, disagree, that sort of thing. Does that sound like a good approach on that moving forward?
I think if you give us just a menu of things, then we can, at the beginning of the year, sign up for them and just make sure that no three people are signed up to the same one. And we just kind of do it ourselves and we can kind of pick and choose what we need to do or what we'd like to do. Go from there. I think a menu would makes more sense.
I want everybody to understand that when I first started with the council many years ago, it's funny because Dave actually called me, says, "Hey, I didn't realize you were part of the council back in 06, 07, whatever it was." I said, "Yeah, it's been a few years, right?" So I just want everybody to understand when I first started, we had one meeting a month. And now we have a general order of two. And now we're requiring you to have even more. That's a lot of time for us as community members. We have busy lives. We have all that stuff. I think what we're trying to do is get more engagement in the community, which is fantastic. But by any means, please understand your family comes first, for sure. So when we say that we're going to sign up for something, I'm not obligating anybody to show up for anything. So we do have a duty. We have that one meeting a month we do have to sign up for. That second meeting is a workshop technically, as per everything. It's my understanding that we need to attend as much as we can, but this stuff is all collateral to everything. So please understand that. Okay.
All right. That's all. That gives me enough for you. I think we can bring this to you either in 2 weeks or
Yep.
or in March with sort of that menu.
Sounds good. Okay. And then moving on to any further questions from council or staff? Bruce, go ahead.
Take one down, pass it.
Coffee with a Cop is the third Tuesday of the month. From 8 to 10. And it will be at Maple Moose this next month. At Java Junkies this last
Sweet. Okay. Okay, with no
Friday,
further,
Tuesday. I'm sorry, it's Saturday.
I was gonna say
Third
Thursday.
Third Saturday.
Yeah, third Saturday.
I was on city
Like
council. mode.
third, Crane third Saturday.
Third Saturday,
Yeah.
third Saturday,
Okay.
8 to 10.
Any further questions? All right, moving on now to 5.3, Umatilla Together Governance Academy. Dave.
All right, so we've briefly touched on this a little bit here and there over the last several months, and then it's also in the draft communications policy. And so I provided here coming around, there's your next two items on the agenda, 5.3 and 5.4 are, kind of these concepts or what do you call it? yeah, anyway, concepts of both of these programs. So this Umatilla Together Governance Academy is what I'm proposing it be called. And the idea here, and feel free to kind of read while I'm discussing, they're not going to hurt my feelings in any way, shape, or form. But the idea is that there would be 8 interactive sessions beginning in September on Monday nights from 6 to 7:45 p.m. 2 in September this year, 2 in September, 3 in October, 3 in November, and then a graduation ceremony at your council meeting in December. The idea would be if you do not need to register for these programs and these classes or topics, but if you attend 6 out of 8, you get a graduation certificate and a $25 Visa gift card to say thank you and that sort of thing. It would have topics that help how many local government services run, and it's mostly it's a strong emphasis on city government, but we would like to partner with school district and fire district and incorporate some of our other smaller special districts onto some of our nights that might make sense depending on the topics. Those topics would be things like police services, fire services, recreation and youth programs, finance and budgeting, infrastructure, schools, and other local taxing district services. And we try to do this through collaboration. It would not just be a lecture only kind of thing. So for example, similar to what you just did right now, if we did a public works, we might start here for that night, meet for 15, 20 minutes, load them onto a bus and go show them some of the stuff that you just saw today, wastewater plant, water treatment plant, that kind of thing. So all the things that nobody ever thinks about at all that keeps the city running. I mean, water and wastewater are the lifeblood of any community, and nobody thinks about it until that toilet backs up or they go to run their sink and there's no water. Then they think about it. And so our services are working for everybody 24 hours a day. We kind of want to highlight that as well. And then also it'll most people just look at the government services as if we're all under one umbrella, and they don't necessarily understand the differentiation of services, budgets, taxes, how those things kind of flow. And so it would be an opportunity to show that as well. This meets 2 specific of your goals, and then one of your goal 1 is talking about your quality of life work, and in under goal 1, there's a lot of prevention focused public safety and youth engagement priorities. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in your next item on your agenda too. But so it checks a lot of boxes for your goals. It was also something that was brought up during a public comment as well, probably back in the late fall. And so we work on something like that. The city of Philomath, their city manager is Chris Workman. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for about 20 years. They have what they call it their Citizens Academy. They've been doing it for about 4 years now and had a lot of success. One of the biggest things that comes from the program is those who complete it almost every year, at least 1 or 2 graduates end up onto the budget committee or the planning commission, and they've even had a couple run for elected office and get elected. And so it's a great opportunity where people can sort of weigh and measure how these things work a little bit, learn a little bit more, and maybe even think about some additional public service when they're done. So I wanted to introduce this idea and this program. It would go quickly. It's 6 months from now would be the first one, but I'd like to have that start this fall. And open to whatever thoughts, comments, feedback. Again, it's concept. We'll bring you a couple updates along the way. But it's a combination of both show and tell and lecture and interactive discussion with attendees. Thoughts?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we have long discussed this community engagement piece, and it just seems as though we don't do enough, or we're just at that hurdle of trying to connect with it. You know, everybody, again, like I said earlier, everybody has busy lives, and to commit to 3-4 nights a month is sometimes pretty daunting, and all the stuff in between, right? So I think this is great that we can actually make connection with community members, because ultimately what happens is, and we all know this, we all have our circle of friends, right? So we start talking to our circle of friends, and those are the people we try and recruit to come and be a part of it. But we need to get a bigger bigger net, if you would, because you never know, your neighbor might be your best councilman or your best budget person or really interested into it and they don't know how to do it. So I think this is a great avenue for us to go forward and try and captivate that.
And this would be run by staff and our other district partners. Council certainly is welcome and invited. We just need to know if 4 of you are going to show up, because then it would need to be noticed as public that is 100% city business, even if it's just education. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, probably the certificate, maybe not the $25 gift card.
She just wants her certificate.
No, I really like this, and I also like the upstream
Yes.
and how that is a great.
That's the next agenda item. Hold on, give us 2 seconds, Kareem.
Next.
Yeah, we're still talking about it. It's in the same packet. We're moving on to the next page.
Sorry.
Any further questions about?
Along with this.
No, you're good.
So sorry.
You're good.
He likes them both.
She likes them both.
Yeah.
Any-
It was the same thing. So
Yeah.
I love this.
5.5.
Yeah, any other questions now?
The first thing we just talked about. I'm so embarrassed.
No, you're good. Any further questions about Umatilla Together?
So
Bruce, go ahead.
I was just gonna comment real quickly. I mean, I think it's a great idea. You just laid out, I mean, you've all heard my vision, my story. It's like, look, anything to educate people before they, recruiting opportunity to see people, engage how interested they are, educate them along the way, show them what it is. All those things are wonderful byproducts of just getting people more educated. So I'm excited about getting started, and I'm more excited about seeing what we have to change to make it better.
I have a question. What ages can do that?
We hadn't thought about an age restriction. I don't know if we necessarily have one. Probably either 8 and up, 10 and up, 12 and up, somewhere in there.
I'd say 12.
Probably 12.
7th grade up would make sense. I think you get
Maybe
the-
middle, maybe 6th grade and older, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say 7th grade. 6th grade are still pretty.
Yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It's not going to bring up the church.
Yeah, because
We got some.
Some-
I mean,
yeah.
Dennis is on the council. He's sitting right
Yeah.
there.
we're Scott.
Scott would not be in this room then.
I would.
All right, moving on now to 5.4,
Thank-
introduction of upstream.
All right.
Is this Dave Resmerel?
It's me.
Okay.
So, if you don't like the acronym, no problem. Try to put everything together to create a general concept here, and of it being a truly multifaceted, holistic approach to proactive policing and prevention. We've had in the last year sort of an uptick in crime, violent crime, drive-by shootings, things like that in the community, despite our additions of FTE and officers in the department. We actually are doing pretty good at meeting the National Chiefs of Police 2 per 1,000. We're pretty close. We're just barely over that, and we're doing better than some of our peers. But that's the reactive side. That's after people have done bad things, and we would prefer that not to happen at all. And so the idea here is this 4 tenets of recreation, engagement, advocacy, and mentorship to meet some goals towards prevention. Chief's done a good job of each year sort of expanding to this idea of community policing, which we created the COP program. We've expanded the SRO services. We've created the victim advocacy, position, and there's still a lot more opportunities to go from there. And so the idea here would be that as our community continues to grow, adding roughly 250 to 300 new people a year every year right now means that the community is growing about 4% a year in population. So every 5 years, that means 1 out of 5 people are new to town. And so it's tough to sort of find your new tribe, to make your new friends, to find your new fellowship and that sort of thing at every age. But in particularly, our young people are at most risk for those kinds of things. And if we don't have a robust system to meet them where they are, to help with some of that preventative measures. Unfortunately, they're going to be sitting in the back seat of our police officers' vehicles instead of checking out the fun in the front seat on some sort of ride along or something like that. And so this is that sort of idea. This is not a all at once implementation. This is a forever building upon trial and error, what works, what doesn't work. But one thing that would be clear from this would be to partner with organizations, I mentioned this last time, like Boys and Girls Club. Communities where there is a Boys and Girls Club, juvenile crime is 20% lower than a community that doesn't have one. And that's simply because they meet that critical need that like Tina's doing with the school district after school programs, but we just need a lot more than what we have. It's that critical time from school getting out, basically 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And providing opportunities there for young people. It also, this program, there's things sprinkled in here for our seniors. One of the things that we definitely need to do, and we agreed to do, is to get our senior meal program back and create more senior programs at our community center. Obviously that shut down during COVID. We went into full delivery mode. We delivered meals often during that time. And then when we came out, we did our lead and asbestos abatement at the community center. We ripped up our roof, we ripped up the parking lot. The good news is that facility's now been up and running for about a year, but we haven't brought back the senior meals program yet. So that will be coming back sooner than later. We can do that, right now. But we're going to need to look at several different opportunities for recreation, engagement, advocacy, and mentorship. So these are just some ideas and examples in each of these categories and each of these tenets and ways in which we could create this program. The reason why I thought upstream was kind of fun is, the idea that the thought there is that a lot of people say, oh, if it happens upstream, anything upstream impacts everything else downstream. In this case, young people, it's sort of the upstream. If we don't work with them upstream, we're going to have a problem on downstream side, dealing with them with police officers on the wrong side of the law. And so that's sort of the idea. Just wanted to run it by council to see what thoughts would be. As the community mentioned, as we mentioned, you saw some of the capital side of things, and the next item on the agenda we'll talk about that more with urban renewal and enterprise zone and budgets and funding and things like that. But if we don't meet these services, we're going to have another problem that no one's going to really like. And so that's what we're trying to address.
I think it's great. I think it's a good idea. I like the acronym. Kareen, do you want to add to that real quick?
Yes, I loved the logo. No, I love this so much, and there's such great ideas on here, and I love the connection with the older and the younger. No, I really think this is great because yes, we are having so much trouble. Well, a lot more uptick in gang activity at the school, and it's just I just don't understand what is going on, and it makes me very sad. So no, I just am really excited about this. I think this is a great idea.
So there's a really cool video I put on here under engagement. It's number 17 on here called Clio. It's, if you're familiar with CBS is On the Road, it's this cool video about these high school kids that one kid just had like his grandma or something at like a assisted living facility, and then invited his friends to go, and then they started helping them with like their cell phones, how they can do text messages and pictures and stuff. And then it turned into like this cool program of youth and seniors just kind of getting together and sort of solving the community's problems that way. And so if you're looking for a little tearjerker one, I encourage you to take a look at video. We could do things like that. There was another one, same thing, On the Road. It's a fun program. They're like that. They had these kids were going around and they were like TPing people, and it's not really a big problem, right? So the police decided, well, we're going to TP them back. And so the police officers got a bunch of TP, and they went around and TP'd people's houses and created this big contest with it. And all of a sudden the whole town was in on it. And what could have been a slap of the hand or lock you up or whatever, that turned into be something really, really fun. And the community even went and started donating toilet paper, leaving it on their businesses, like towers of TP for the kids to just grab and start hitting and stuff like that. So what could have been really bad turned into be something really fun. So finding ways in which we can sort of, I use analogies a lot when I talk. One of the ones I usually use, it's easier to grab a surfboard and ride the wave than to try to fight the wave. You just can't fight it. And so finding more surfboards is kind of a cool idea there. And we want to start looking for ways to do that as well.
Hey, so you say that crime has been rising. What kind of crime has seen the largest jump, and then what age group are we looking at, like, too?
I don't know if you could put an age group in the category. There is an uptick in youth crimes, especially gang activity, shootings, drive-by shootings. It's very difficult for me to track shootings because sometimes somebody calls in a shooting and we get there and it's fireworks, but it stays in the system as shootings. And so it's really hard for me to track that. I have to go in and actually pull the numbers or read through every single case to see if there were shell casings or anything found. But there definitely has been an uptick just since I've been here. I looked at the last 6 years, and it's increased quite a bit.
Okay, thank you.
And can I add to that? So I noticed in the school, like, so I've only been at the high school, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years. And when I first got there, there was a little bit, but not much. And then there hasn't been hardly any. And then all of a sudden, like this year, and it's mostly the freshmen. I feel like the younger kids, because last year we had a little bit of it in the beginning of the year, and this year it's again the freshman, sophomore. So it's more of the youngers. So, and they're doing graffiti a lot. And so yeah, we're having a lot of troubles with it. So it's just very frustrating because a lot of the kids are frustrated because they wish they'd stop doing that because they're tired of the bathroom doors having to be open and like that kind of thing. So very frustrating because we didn't have problems with it for a long time and now it's a huge problem again.
Did you want?
Oh, yeah.
Just looking.
Okay. I kind of brought it up earlier. Our outside communities have really gotten really hard on a lot of these things. And so I think, cockroaches go where there's no light. So sometimes and I hate to say it about things, but that's just a kind of metaphor. Please understand that. I'm not calling anybody cockroaches. I'm just saying that if we don't shed a light on it and keep, we really can't keep lists or databases on people anymore because you can't categorize them, but it is what it is. And so the more you do that and the more, again, this will engage and will entrust people to be able to bring forward information. And everybody's afraid to share information now because there's not an avenue to do it where they don't feel that there's going to be recourse. And I think with this building some kind of a mentorship or an avenue of building trust with these individuals, because ultimately it's just like me working inside the prison. I'm a numbers person, right? So if I have 100 guys on a housing unit, I have 10% that I got to watch. That's the 10, right? So, and out of that 10, there's probably about 2 or 3 that I really need to keep my eye on. So if you look at globally in our community, we're not talking about everybody. Most policing is a good citizen that have momentary lapse of judgment, right? So it's more about finding those people that actually have that forethought that they're going to do something and being able to find an avenue to which we can reach these kids and these people that are right in that contemplative state where they're going to do something. So I think this is really forward thinking. This is a great opportunity for us to try and find something that's going to bridge that gap. No, I'm all about this.
One thing I've been sitting there stewing on is I think this is a phenomenal program. It's like a super great idea. I'm all for it. One thing that after working with Zach about trying to select people for this, especially if we're going to be doing a lot of mentorship focused activities, especially with adults interacting with kids at a level like that, we need to make sure we're doing the proper youth protections and making sure that we're following all those through to the letter of the law, making sure we're protecting kids and making sure things are correct and safe. So I think that's a big and huge important part.
Even if, I know we don't have a quote unquote scared straight program anymore. They found that sometimes that's a bad place to go things. But if we can find individuals such as these guys that have released that have, and there's some guys in the community right now that I can take you to that were really bad guys, and they're living great in communities and they're doing fantastic changes in their lives. And those are great testaments to people that are again, they've been there. they know where you're headed. I can already see the writing on the wall where you're headed in your thinking process, right? So if we can connect some of those guys to some groups of people, I think it's a really good thing for both sides.
Great ideas. I mean, all in all, you've just been sitting here listening and, I mean, you've got an odd way of looking at it. I mean, Dave brought up water, sewage, it's like, hey, it's the stuff behind the scenes that makes the city work. This is the stuff behind the scenes that makes the city work. This is like not stuff you normally think about, but it's critical for Umatilla to keep on going. I mean, I think we've got to be completely invested in this. I was just doing some chat GTP garbage over here. And I love upstream, but I think we might need to work on that a little bit. It's like, either in my mind, we either have to work on it a little bit upstream. I love it, but upstream has that connotation of difficult. And it's kind of like, okay, I mean, hey, maybe we can message around it and come up with like a home run message to go with upstream. But if not, maybe we need to work on the acronym a little bit. Love the program.
Any other from staff or council this time?
Just last comment with it.
Go
So
ahead.
with this is, so this takes intentional investment. So it's staffing, it's programming, it's materials, it's facilities. And like I said, it's not all at once. This is rolled out over several years and time. And there's going to be certain programs that we were excited about when we invested in that didn't work. And so then we'll try something else that the data and the narratives and programs that they have available to us out there. But so as we talk about our budgeting and our programming, this is where the rubber is going to end up meeting the road is, funds available for these types of programs versus pothole repairs or versus other kinds of things like that. So there's always this jockeying for services that we provide. So I just wanted to, again, just sort of let you know that none of this is going to be sort of an overnight thing, but we'll work through it.
I'm sorry, just to piggyback off what you were saying, I think if you honestly take a grander look at things, the Governance Academy and this kind of runs parallel to each other because I think it's going to give us an opportunity to give us a window of accessibility to us as councilmen and staff. And it's going to open. So, and I don't think initially, like you said, the building blocks, the first foundation of it is going to be this governance thing that's going to open us up more to conversations with people. But I think through that, we can step through the next building blocks and go towards upstream. I think it's
So some of the programs, and I know I just handed this to you, so you haven't read them all, but one of the proposals in here is to create a new grant for Umatilla businesses to hire 14 to 17-year-olds. So if they can find ways that they can be the kitchen mop at the end of a shift, if they can have them just work on a landscape crew and all they do is hand pulling or something like that for weeds or whatever, and they can provide that certified payroll or something, whatever, over to us, we could provide some sort of grant match or something for that to bring young people in, give them the opportunity to work in a work environment, to work with others that are there, be part of that team, have a little money, legitimate money rather than illegitimate money perhaps in their pocket is going to be very successful. So things like that, doubling our rec aid program, finding additional ways to encourage them, have them here at the city. This is a good environment. We do background check everybody that works at the city. So all that stuff as well. So, I mean, there's lots of opportunities there to not only just have programs, but to invest in them to work.
Speaking as a business owner, I think that if we had a program set up, and it doesn't have to associate with funds, I think there's enough city businesses here that would be willing to be a part of. If somebody came to us and said, "Hey, look, would you be willing to be a part of this program, this pilot program, 2 days a week or 1 day a week to hire this student, we would gladly have somebody come in and do that if we had accessibility to people that wanted to do it. So I think you could go to, anywhere. I'm sure any business can find an extra $100 a month or whatever to feed it to these students to get things going. I think it would be a good thing.
Just some things to think of, depending on the business, that really requires some insurance issues. So that the money monetarily side of it, I think, should be something would look at, if they can prove to us that they're having to pay higher L&I or insurance for hiring a 14-year-old, depending on what that may look like. We would want to try to help offset some of that.
Well, and I did this when I was working for Lane County in their management office at that time. We created a program where the county hired the young person and then the business contracted with the county. And so the person got their check from us, and so there were mutual indemnification, mutual certifications that went on in that agreement. So they worked for the county, but they reported to work there. If they had an issue, they would report, they would contact a city supervisor. We would take care of that sort of thing. So anyway, there's been successful programs like that throughout the state.
I was just going to mention that I think
And we do your SMART program too. We work, you have special ed kids and others here at the school that look for work. We bring on 4, 5, or 6 of those every year from high school, which is a good program to build off of as well.
I was just going to say that I think that is a really good idea for, to have the city, especially looking doing grants for it, to have more finite control, especially with the insurance side and other stuff, to have better control over it. I think would be smarter. They can apply, and I kind of like that Lane County idea best.
Yeah, and with that one, it was pretty great because they didn't even have the expense. So all they had to do was sign off on the student's time card, and that came to us as, they worked 10 hours or whatever it was, and then we just cut the check for the 10-hour time.
Yeah, super smart. Any further questions about either 5.4 or 5.3? Okay, awesome. Moving on now to 5.5, enterprise zone updates, discussion, and urban renewal impact mitigation.
All right, thank you. So urban renewal plans have gone out to the special districts in the county and the port. So they have 45 days to submit anything specific to the plan. One of the things that we're trying to be quite clear about is there's the urban renewal plan, and at the same time we're talking about looking at enterprise zone funds and enterprise zone distributions. They are not the same, even though they're sort of happening in parallel tracks and on parallel timelines, all to run at the same time as our budget discussions and things like that are running as well. When we talk about financial mitigation opportunities, it would come from enterprise zone funds. So one of the things that we learned about 2 weeks or so ago is PDX 260 up on South Hill is going to be delayed at least 2 years. They've now entered into litigation with Pacific Power because Pacific Power the claim is that Pacific Power is in breach of contract for unable to deliver power by a certain date and time as agreed upon. Of course, there's always clauses in contracts for force majeure or uncontrollable circumstances and things like that, which is what I believe Pacific Power's defense is in this case. So what that means for us, for enterprise zone and funds available for not only urban renewal, but for our operations as well, is when PDX 260 was initially scheduled to break ground either fourth quarter of this year or first quarter of next year. Either way, the next fiscal year is when they were planning on breaking ground. There's a clause in that contract that when they break ground, they make a one-time $5 million payment. $2.5 million would go to the county and $2.5 million would come to the city. So that will not be in next fiscal year's budget, and it has been forecasted for the last 2 years. And so that said, at the moment, their team, AWS's team is saying they're estimating 2 years, but they are also making it quite clear that they actually don't know how long it'll be. They're just saying it could be up to 5, it could be indefinite. They may not actually get to a resolution that will meet what they need. At the same time, we're meeting with them to look at possibilities of maybe land swaps, because we have other large industrial customers that might be coming in or that are looking to come in that need a 100-acre property, and we don't have one in our inventory. And so we had that conversation earlier this week, and so there may be some opportunity there. The other impact of that has to do with we just did, the last 6 months, we completed our economic opportunity analysis, updated our ordinance and associated with that, our comprehensive plan and our ordinance and associated with that EOA, and it also had our BLI, our buildable lands inventory assessment was part of that as well. You might recall that analysis essentially said that we were roughly a little less than 100 acres short in our existing inventory for industrial lands, and we were short at least one large industrial parcel now. But if we were to do an urban growth boundary expansion, we don't really have, our inventory isn't small enough to do like we did 5 years ago, where we would do like a 500, 600, 700 acre urban growth boundary expansion for industrial lands. We still have, there's a 130 acre parcel immediately to the east of the prison. That's still in our inventory. And even though PDX 260 is under contract, DLCD considers it in our inventory until a building permit is issued. So that's roughly 170 acres of that land as well. Those two parcels, if those were sold, had building permits, that would be whatever that is, 300 acres coming out of the inventory right away, plus the large one that our BLI says that we don't have now in the 77, that would put us at 500, 600, 700 acres, right where we want to be able to do an urban growth boundary expansion. And so this delay for PDX 260 is several domino effects and impacts that it's having on our funds. Now, I want to be clear, PDX 260 is not part of the urban renewal at all. So all of the urban renewal funds have everything to do with PDX 63. That campus is obviously already built, plus they're grabbing permits to build a new shell and expand on that right now. This is just our enterprise zone funds impacts. So our ability to use enterprise zone funds to potentially consider ways in which we can mitigate other financial impacts of any financial impacts from the urban renewal plans. So so that's what's going on with those. You toured the water treatment facility today, the brand new water treatment facility today. And even though it comes with a very large financial contribution from our industrial partners, we still have our water master plan that envisions delivering surface water as potable water by the year 2037. If you saw, there's concrete platforms in there with no equipment on them. Those are sort of those skids reserved for that. But there's also other industrial partners that are wanting additional water. And so there may be opportunities where we leverage economic development now, place it on those skids now, and then expand that facility in the future. Still need to negotiate those terms as well. So we have watering improvements that need to occur. We have wastewater improvements that need to occur. Our wastewater treatment facility right now has hit what DEQ, the DEQ threshold, and our OHA threshold, Oregon Health Authority, of 80%. So once you hit that 80% threshold at your wastewater treatment plant, that's when they say you have to expand your wastewater treatment plant. And so we've triggered that. So we're working on making those expansions. We have wastewater reserve funds that's been envisioned, but we still need to get grant funds. We still need supplemental funds from either the general fund or from federal funding or other kind of opportunities there. Do you remember what that was off the top of your head, the next phase of wastewater treatment?
Is it which phase? Phase 1, phase 3? Okay.
It's phase 1. Phase 1, it's right around 11 million.
It's kind of Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Um, Nancy, I emailed you so if you can you pull up the spreadsheet that's it's called URA list. We can put that on the screen. Just so that you can kind of see this is everything that's actually in those urban renewal plans. She'll pull it up here in just a moment, but I kind of wanted you to see where it all in one place because we haven't really presented it that way. I sent it, there it is. Nope.
There's 5 more attachments with the little double arrows.
Yeah, click that. And then that one.
Hey, your enemy.
All right, so the number is just for reference. It's nominal. It doesn't mean it's a priority. So these were organized by date ranges, and these are the projects that are actually in the urban renewal plans. Every single project listed in here references either our transportation system plan, our water master plan, our wastewater master plan, our parks master plan, our trails master plan, or our comprehensive plan directly. So these are all planning documents. Now, one of the things that's really awesome is that for the generally speaking, we're done with long range planning for about 7 to 10 years at the city of Umatilla. We've now renewed and updated every long range planning document that we're required to have. So the next update will come when our population hits about 10,000, which is likely going to be around just about 5 or 6 years from now. And so, but if you go through all of these and you kind of, so they're broken up on east side and west side. But each of these plans, if you can kind of scroll down a little bit, Nancy, you can kind of see some summaries or totals. I mean, so for the first 6 years there on the east side, if we were to do everything according to all of our master planning documents, it's $75 million. And if you scroll to the bottom of the east plan, if you could, the same tab. So all of the projects that are here during the course of the urban renewal timeline, which is about 18 years, would take it, keep going all the way down to $258 million for the East plan. And then the West plan, if you can just click on that tab and go to the bottom as well. Another 274 million. So all combined, it's about $550 million over the course of 18 years. The urban renewal plan will bring in $155 million. So about a little less than a third of all the funds available. So it's not all of them. If we're highly successful in getting federal and state grant funds and things like that, the URA plus those grants might get us to 50% of all of those. So that's just on the capital side. And then we're looking at trying to implement programs like Upstream and things like that to meet the social needs of our community members, not just the capital needs. So I just wanted to, as we're going to be working with the special districts, we hear and we're very sympathetic and understanding, and I think we need to do something there. I don't know what that's going to look like. We have these next basically 2 months to kind of figure out what we can do right now. But I just want to make sure that we understand sort of the depths of where the city is. It is absolutely accurate and true. The city is experienced terrific good fortune, and then we worked our tails off to leverage that and compound that. And then we've worked really hard to complete all of our planning documents. We know what physically the city needs as far as facilities and improvements over the next 20 years. We know what we need to do all that through those master planning documents. The social side or the community side is a little bit more dynamic and not quite as easy to diagnose, I suppose. But there's going to be obviously 6- and 7-figure investments each year necessary to do things like that. So it's going to be this exercise of weighing and measuring our needs versus all community needs through other district programs. I'll be crystal clear. I meet with the fire chief at least once every month and have been since he started and met with Chief Grant before him at least once a month, the whole time he was here. The fire district is in dire financial positions right now. And some folks might get into the weeds of whatever sort of management, whatever. It doesn't really matter. They need the help. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you want to talk about services that are needed, somebody calls 911, and if there's no one there to go, and that's the difference between life or death, that's a big problem. That's a major, massive problem. And so we have an obligation to our friends, to our peers, and our partners to find ways in which we can partner in a meaningful way to help with that. That's all to say there's that need, there's our needs again, and there's just not enough resources to go around. So though we're doing way better financially where before, the city of Umatilla for half a century was in survival mode. We were just getting by, and now we're doing significantly better, but we're nowhere near this sort of position where we just got more money. We just don't know what to do with it. So we are at a critical junction where we need to be strategic and intentional and thoughtful with these funds. And so I just wanted to introduce it that way, kind of let you know what we're seeing from a staff side, give you the update on PDX 260 and the implications that might have for right now. And wanted to talk about, just have an open dialogue about all of this.
Well, I think after hearing those numbers, I don't think PDX 260's $5 million is going to be that big of a drop in the bucket. Right.
It is for us now, especially, you know, Zach and I went into these conversations with all of our taxing districts with a pretty strong projection of what we've had in mind. These projections haven't changed over the past several years. We had no reason to believe they were. And when we have a fire department that's saying, can you help us with a $2 million ladder truck? And now we're saying, now we have $2.5 million less than we thought. That is a big impact.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, in looking at the list, it's like, so I want little grandma that's over on Chenna Street to be able to hit her water and water come out. And when she flushes her toilet, it goes where it's supposed to go. And we have electricity that goes to that house, you know. You got to feed the feed the goose before you get the golden egg. So it's kind of one of those things. It is a balancing act. Plus, we're talking about, you know, with the stuff we're talking about, putting in curbs, gutters, sidewalks everywhere and doing all that as well. It's just, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle. And you're right. When they start peeling back the onion and saying we're going to delay this for 5 years, that really impacts everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. We all feel the same way.
Well, I was going to say, so the urban renewal plan, if it's adopted this July, however that looks, and the priority projects that are on there right now are mostly transportation improvement and one large Hash Park Sports Complex, one large parks project. Well, the marina would be 2030, the next one. So the very first funding in 2027 would be to look at 7th Street and 8th Street to get full curb, gutter, sidewalk, everything there for the middle school and the high school, and then also Willamette and Columbia to get, that's in 2030. Sorry, excuse me. So that, and then okay, so 7th Street first, and then 8th Street is in 2030. Roundabout and 7th. Okay, so let me take those one by one. So the roundabout project is in the first debt issuance in 2027. That will meet two obligations. One, the new intermediate school was the hair that broke the camel's back. There were 15, this is anecdotal, but there were 15 other projects in front of that broke that camel's back, to be really clear. But they were the only one because it broke the back, it hit the LOS, the level of service failure. That's why ODOT said we're gonna appeal this project and it can't move forward unless this improvement is done. And we believed really strongly they were going to win that appeal, and so that's why they agreed to enter into this. 190 agreement, an intergovernmental agreement. We have until 2030 to build that. And so it's estimated to be a $10 million project. We've already put in $370,000 this year. We're working with them now on concept design. We've already made presentations to the MAP. I forget what the acronym stands for. It's the truckers of Oregon to be able to make sure that it meets those needs. So that project is moving along, and it would cover the funds for that. It also includes Hash Park Sports Complex. So that would help us with a lot of this stream stuff. Not only it doesn't get us many indoor facilities, and yes, it's a diamond field and it has the soccer fields, but we actually have two other fields that would utilize sort of removable fences. So you can actually get two really big, large areas. So you can expand the soccer fields further if you wanted to do more games. You could do flag football, lacrosse, field hockey, things like that. But we're going to start getting into sports tourism and stuff like that as well. But we'll be able to do a lot more offerings because of that facility also. And then, yeah, 7th Street. So that's going to put in where we had drive-by shootings and other issues recently, put in those curb gutters, sidewalks, and lights to be able to have that.
Right. And I think that's important that we have that going back to the community 1000%, because they don't see us putting in main lines and all this other stuff. And as far as safety goes, we all know, being around the middle school and the high school and all of that, we got to have curbs, gutters, and sidewalks there. We have to. It's just been too long. And we've grown so big that it's just a cluster. We need to have that done. But I agree with you when it comes to the fire department. Same little grandma calling 911. She needs her house taken care of because her kittens are going to die. Well, you know what? We got to support that. That's, to me, they don't have the opportunity to get the taxing dollars that other districts do. And so I think it's important for us to come forward and figure out a way that we can supplement and help the fire department. And if that means that maybe we delay something, and get them their funds, I think that's important. We need to put that closer to the top of the list.
We're also looking at in-kind options. We don't know if we'll do them or not, but helping with Melissa doesn't like this idea at all, but helping with payroll as a possible option there, where they're turning into trying to send those through. We had a similar program with the city of Echo. You might recall, we did $10,000 a year for planning for them. So they would do, they didn't have a planner, and so they used Jacob at the time. Well, we haven't been able to provide that for them in a long time because Jacob left, and our planner is green, so not quite. Jacob was a senior planner. We have an associate planner, so we're not quite at that level yet, but eventually we will be able to get there to help some of our neighbors. So we have systems like this where we've set up before, where we've helped other municipalities or other districts where we can take advantage of our administrative procedures and resources as well.
I think it'd be, I'm going to go on record, I think Scott would be a great fireman. So, gear up, bro.
Just a clarification. If Melissa thinks it's a bad idea, Scott thinks it's a bad idea.
That's dangerous territory. Stop.
That's dangerous.
Send him to mom and dad.
So from this list of projects here, Dave, how much of this is stuff that's, Parks and Rec, and I don't mean to say floof attached to that, but floof, like the community garden and things like that we could truly cut out to kind of limit this $500 million to $175 reality?
There's some that would be a little bit of a subjective exercise of which one is or is not, but for the most part, so you could pick one of these, for example. You could pick a full reconstruction of a street. Some of these are small, 300,000 ones here. It's not that it's the city, other than like 6th Street and what we're doing on Powerline right now, we haven't done a full reconstruction of a street in I don't know when, decades. And so when you go through, especially you go through some of those neighborhoods in McNary, especially on the south side of McNary, like they don't have any sidewalks at all. They barely have street lights, and they were built that way when the town was built in the 40s, 50s and 60s. And so depending on when their homes were built.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about a transportation system in there, and our TSP gave them a grade. Basically every street in McNary is an F pretty much. Not all of them, but I mean, I'm over exaggerating, but they're all that bad. So does it work? Yeah, it works. You can still drive on it. It's still fine. Like, this year we did a lot of patching on Lewis Street, but Lewis Street should just be ripped up and rebuilt. So it's a proverbial Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. We got a few of those going on.
And so, I mean, that's my question though. Like what, as a city, or what are we going to prioritize? Is it going to be, yeah, well, exactly what Scott just said, wants and needs. Like, do we want a new park? Yes, but can we afford a new park if we're looking at, roads that are an F? Like, my
If
perspective,
you
like,
get into quality of life then and what attracts people to Umatilla and gets them to stay, because a lot of, yes, you can say it's a floof project,
Mhm.
but without a park, if you're a young family looking to move into a neighborhood and there isn't one, then I'm not moving to that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
But if the roads they drive to there to get to the neighborhood are unacceptable, then you're like,
I
yeah, if
agree.
one doesn't the other, Mm-hmm. Say it one more time, but louder.
So some of the projects like parks, recreation, yeah, they have that cost, but they also have it could be a very modest revenue generation where, yeah, the foundation of roads and everything is vital, but that comes with a cost as well. So, I mean, there's some offsets there, but
Mm-hmm. Absolutely is a balancing act.
Well, thanks for leaving this to the last one.
Yeah, so all good questions, all things we're going to have to vet, through this conversation. I mean, I think one thing I would ask, of staff to help us be prepared for, I am horribly reminded one of the first comments I made at a budget committee meeting, and I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I'm going to get to eat my words on that one. But we're going to have to vet through this stuff. I mean, in the business I come from, it was air, water, food. You go through the steps of what you need, and we're going to end up in some unfortunate situations, making decisions that we're not going to be happy about. But whatever, I think there's critical stuff to that we need. It's not just, in my mind, it's not just the dollar figure on the cost. We have to have a robust enough system to be able to look at the appeal of the city,
Mm-hmm.
to keep on being able to bring people to the city, to want to stay here, to be able to grow. I mean, you guys just hit on a perfect one. It's like, well, can we afford Hash Park? Well, can we not afford to have Hash Park if nobody wants to come here? I don't,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and I mean, that goes back to, the proverbial Sim City that we're playing here. I mean, where are we at with, if, what Darren was highlighting earlier about, if little lady can't turn on her water, then we lost Sim City. We lost.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that we keep Scott happy first, and we make sure. Yeah, sorry, Melissa. We make sure that Melissa first. She signs the checks. But and I think truly, like, we also have one of the largest parks in the entire region just down the road from Hash Park. I mean, it's massive. It doesn't have all the sports facilities, no, but does it have an absolutely huge nature preserve that is free for anyone to walk through and explore? Yeah. That's where I take my kid walking. That's the reality of the situation. And like, I know, like, hey, we're gonna walk through McNary to get there. But we go there, we don't necessarily go to Hash Park. But I love a road to get there. Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same things. It's expected when you move here that you turn on and the water comes on, and the power comes on, the water and the sewer, all of that stuff. That's expected. But what would attract me to live here, or is going to be, one thing is going to be cost of living. Obviously, our taxes are at a rate that is much more appealing than other areas. That's the highest thing for me. And then the second thing is, you know, do I feel safe? And is there things for my children to do? You're right. The nature trails down there are wonderful. I don't necessarily go to them, but that doesn't mean that more people don't. It's not as groomed and taken care of as probably I would want it to be, but that's okay. But I also agree that, you know, we need to have facilities that is going to attract those people that want to play softball or soccer now, especially as we go forward with losing the soccer fields down there. So we're going to have something for those, and those things are used all the time. So we have to fundamentally figure out as a community that, hey, we have to support that as well. Or where are they going to go? They're going to go to Hermiston. So ideally, we want to have a little bit of the idea. And I think the biggest thing, if I'm not too far off base, Dave, is you are giving us this as a exercise to understand what the need is for the city as we move forward with the taxing districts and so forth, so on. And we all agree with you that there's a priority list. Me personally, the priority list of the taxing districts of who and what and where in the pecking order, right? So me personally, I think that the primary thing is going to be the fire district because they need to be, they really do. They don't have the ability to get more funding available as some of them other do. So it's kind of one of those deals.
No, I can't agree more with you, Darren. I think the fire district, you know, hearing some of their woes they're going through is heartbreaking and it's concerning. And having friends who are currently, you know, involved with the fire department and talking to them about it and going, I got some crisis. It needs to be resolved, and they're going to need some financial support. That exactly what you highlighted, David. It's a concern. Yeah, we'll keep playing SimCity and hopefully we win.
Yeah, if I could, I guess maybe finish with the thought. Yeah, the idea, Darren, was that I just wanted to sort of make sure it was brought to your understanding that we have our financial struggles. They just look different than everybody else's. You can go through the exercise of prioritizing services. And I would say it depends. My answer to that is it depends. What are we talking about? Because like, if you don't build the parks, you don't have the facilities, you can't do programs like this. And in 5 years, you got a crime problem. And now it's worse. And now less people are moving here. And now you're chasing your tail. And now you're costing 2 to 3 times as much funds than if you would the ounce of prevention, pound of cure sort of idea. And so it needs to be a diversification of services, and it needs to be sort of wait your turn, and we're going to rotate. I feel like it's almost like kind of with your parents, like you got to wait your turn and you're going to get it. And so it's like this year we're investing in roads, and next year we're investing in parks, and next year we're investing in wastewater, and next year we're sort of, we need to do all of them right now, but we can get there as we go. But then you take that and the priority is going to come. So did you not work at Lane County, Scott? So we always did things called, we called them SOSs. They were service request forms. Basically, the idea you created tiers through these service, because I worked there during the Great Recession of 8, 9, and 10. 1,500 employees cut down to 900 employees. A $700 million annual budget cut down to $400 million in 1 year. Very terrible time, frankly. And so at the very bottom, you have your statutory services. What does the ORS say? You shall provide, and at what level? You cannot cut. You cut this, you're no longer a city. The county has absorbed you. So we can go through those exercises. Anything else above that is literally a nice to have. It's just how nice is it? And like I say, it just depends. If all of a sudden our demographic shifts and our average age is 70, we might have priorities that are different. If our demographic stays like it's right now, where the average age is 33, we got a lot of people with young families. I would say recreation is a big deal. Our transportation system can get you from point A to point B, just not as comfortably and maybe not as safely, but at least you can get from A to B versus 0. So these are the conversations that we'll have as we go through budget and work through that. And we try to prioritize not only our services, but our partner services and see what's there. And I just wanted to bring it to your understanding that just recognize like PDX 260, where one domino falls, it actually hits 20 other ones along the way. It's the same thing. When we help our friends, it's going to impact other things. That doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means there's impacts to that. We got to understand, we're going to have to go through that exercise to figure out what those impacts are going to be and how much other delays that might have on other services that we really want to implement.
Okay. With that, is there any further questions or comments from?
The only thing I'll add to that is we get wrapped around what stuff costs when it's bought. We need to remember what that's going to cost to take care of and maintain along the way. Also, I brought it up earlier with the water treatment facility. And I put it in terms of a car like a Cadillac, or I hate Chevys, but whether you, yeah, well, that's even worse. So anyway, in that context, yeah, sometimes it is really nice to have a Cadillac, but it costs a lot more to maintain it, right? And a lot of times on these projects that we're going to say yes to, sometimes we have to average out the cost of, does the building look nice or does it function? And so those are all things that I look at. Dave loves the things that look great, and I can appreciate that. Dave would be an architect in the architect world. Scott would be an engineer in the engineering world. I just like square, easy to take care of, easy to maintain. I know that that's not always going to happen either, right? So we just all have to be understanding that there's a lot of cost to go along with those cool things that we have out there too. So just be mindful of all that. I know you are, but sometimes I love a cool looking building too. Just sometimes they're expensive to take care of. So that's all.
Okay. No maintenance, just.
I know on the city manager. On the city manager's things of to do, he's going to wash all the new windows in the building.
All right. Wax on, wax off. All right. Any further questions or comments from council? On to good of the order. Is there anything for the good of the order?
I just wanted to say I appreciate everything you guys did today. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for making it the tour nice, short, and sweet. And I appreciate looking at that. I really do. The wastewater treatment, the water treatment that we did up there. That was a really good eye opener. I knew there was something going on down there. I just wasn't sure what. That's fantastic.
Yeah, big tanks. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming in on a Saturday. And you were talking about we all have lives and we're all taking, some extra time here today. Great wonderful program, thought provoking, things we all need to be thinking about before we get there. So Thank you very much.
Karina, anything you'd like to add? Thank you for the food. McMillan's.
Yeah, just thanks for again the tour. It's always fun. And like Darren was saying, it was cool to see the water treatment facility. I didn't even know it existed. So yeah, I saw tanks when you drive by, but that's about it. But anyway, yeah, thanks for your time. It's interesting. Yeah.
Katie, anything like that?
With the Cadillac thing.
Pretty much what everybody else said. Just thanks for everybody for coming down on Saturday. I like seeing the new business center. I'm excited for that. The big windows and the big doors, and I want to see the kitchen when it's done. I'm a kitchen person. So, but anyways, so I'm excited for that and just see the whole thing, the outdoor space, and everything just come to light. I think it's going to be awesome. Good for our community and the farmers markets.
Great. Okay. That's everybody else. I want to say thank you again for all the staff coming in on a Saturday. Appreciate it. Thanks for covering all the materials, and thanks for Scott and Esmeralda and giving us some perspective on the reality of our budget. So I appreciate it.
I want to say thanks to Nancy too for shuttling us around.
Oh yeah, I forgot the bus driver. Thank you.
Food and everything.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Work into that.
Hitting the curb.
It was a slight touch. It was fine. Everyone needs a good realignment. All right. At this time, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you very much. Can we get a second motion, please?
I'll second it.
Motion's been first and seconded. Can we get a roll call, please?
Aye.
Westphal,
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan,
Aye.
Counselor Dennis.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are now adjourned. Have a great Saturday.